So if you've been thinking about a new Jazzmaster, Jaguar, Mustang, or Bass 6 and have logged on to Fender's website recently, you might find that going to their page turns up none of the Vintera II models. And that is across the board. You can see here that there is no Vintera II Jaguar, no Vintera II Jazzmaster here. They do have the limited edition road-worn one, and the Vintera II Mustang is not anywhere to be found either. Nor is the Vintera II Bass 6. And depending on how much time you spend on internet forums like offsetguitars.com or the gear page or even Reddit, you may have probably seen that there have been leaks that the Vintera III series is just right around the corner. And of course, some of the super sleuths on these forums have already started to provide pictures and details from these leaks. I'm not sure what website they had found these pictures and descriptions from, but today I'm going to be going over everything that I've found out so far. Now, take what I say here with a grain of salt, because again, this hasn't been completely verified, but the users on these forums that have been providing these leaks claim to have found these photos that I'm about to share with you, as well as the descriptions on websites, merchants overseas, such as in Europe, that have accidentally posted the listings early and then quickly took them down after they realized their mistake. So yeah, I'm really excited to go over this with you guys because yeah, these look pretty frigging sick. So going over to offsetguitars.com, there is an 8-page thread right now on the Vintera III, and at about the 4th page is where we see our very first images. And oh boy, the first one that we see here is the Vintera III Bass 6. This definitely wasn't on my bingo card for 2026, but here we've got what looks to be, and these unfortunately are really low res images here, but it looks to be a candy apple red Bass 6, an early 60s style based on the wide 12 fret dot spacing. And yes, that is candy apple red with a matching headstock, as well as the seriously hard to find Bass 6 mute. Oh man, I already have a Vintera II Bass 6. I've been talking to a bunch of folks and seeing if we could potentially find a source for these mutes. I've talked to folks who are trying to kind of reverse engineer and potentially bring an aftermarket Bass 6 mute to market. But yeah, this is really surprising. The rumor through the rest of the forum posts is that one of the big themes for the Vintera III releases this year is that they're going to be a lot of red, white, and blue guitars. Something that we've seen a lot over, say, the past 20 years, but we haven't seen some of them at least consistently over the past 5, 6, 7 years or so. So it's nice to see candy apple red making a comeback here. There's also someone claims to have seen an Olympic white one. Most likely that's also going to have a matching headstock. No word yet on whether they're going to be releasing a third color for those Bass 6s. In addition, you can see on this picture here that this also has aged clay dots, also paying homage to the early 60s examples of this. I'm not sure if there's going to be any change to the pickups, we could probably come to expect that it's going to have the same high quality electronics, such as your CTS pots and Switchcraft switches, an input jack, but most likely the wiring is going to be the same as always, your PVC coated wiring. Hopefully this year they bring back at minimum the shielding paint on these, because it was a weird omission across the Vintera II series that they completely decided to get rid of shielding altogether. So yeah, that is what we know so far about the Bass 6. Now, moving along with this thread, the next model that we see slated for a Vintera III release is a Fender Mustang, and finally we are getting a proper Olympic white Fender Mustang, that classic look. It begs the question on whether, if that red, white, and blue theme is going to be implemented, if we are going to also be seeing a Dakota red Mustang as well as a Daphne blue. Those are the classic Fender Mustang colors before they went to the competition stripe colors in the later 60s. And it points to going back to a slab construction for the body, so no longer going to have any more contours. And much like the Bass 6, we are also seeing either aged or clay dots here, which points to an homage to the earliest Mustangs from 1964 to early 1965. There are no other details right now on the Mustang with regards to specs, but I am imagining that the pickups, again, the electronics and the hardware is probably going to be similar to that of the original Vintera 60s release, maybe with the exception being that it comes with revoiced or newly voiced 60s style Mustang pickups. Now, the next thing that we see leaked in this thread is the Jazzmaster, and oh my gosh, I'm excited for this one because Sonic Blue is one of my favorite colors. It would be even more appealing to me if they really nailed the Sonic Blue color this time. I feel like the Sonic Blue on the Vintera 2s was a little bit too saturated, a little darker than what I know Sonic Blue to be. But that said, you are getting a matching headstock here, which is really, really nice. I can't tell from this photo whether this one also has clay dots or whether this is going to be perloid, but based on what I can see, and again, it's low res, but based on the headstock logo, it looks like they are going to be paying tribute to the transition era before Fender started to do bound necks in 1965. So this logo started to show up on Fender Jazzmasters back in 1964 and continued into, 1965, even after they started to add the binding to the fretboards. Again, I do not know what kind of changes there are going to be electronics or pickup wise. I would expect them to be very similar probably to the Vintera II, but they might tweak the voicing a little bit to add that to their marketing. Now, lastly, as we scroll down to this thread, the thing that I am probably most excited about, because it's no secret that the Fender Jaguar is my favorite of all of the offset guitars, as well as the one that has had the least amount of love, I feel like, over the past 3, 4, 5 years even. So many of us have been waiting for so long for the release of the AV266 Jaguar, which, again, I am not holding my breath at this point. They just may never do it. Maybe the Jaguar is too niche for them to pour that kind of money into, but this is really nice because, oh my goodness, folks, we are seeing a Sherwood green Jaguar. If I go over here to my photos, we've also got a shell pink Jaguar, as well as what looks like a target burst or clown burst Jaguar, all of these, again, I would say probably follow the transition era that they are going to be doing with the Jazzmaster. Still no binding on the neck, though. That would have been really, really nice. Thankfully, these are rosewood boards instead of maple boards with black block inlays. And for the first time ever, as you can see here, we are going to be getting a mute on these made in Mexico Jaguars. No made in Mexico Jaguar ever has actually even had the hole for installing the mute. So this is quite a development, and a lot of folks in this thread and other threads across the internet right now are positing that this is most likely a move as a result of Fender's new CEO, who, if you don't know, spent many years over at Fender Japan and was instrumental in a lot of the decisions made. And it's no secret that Fender Japan is the GOAT as far as custom color options and just unique offerings, and what makes those so very highly desirable and coveted. And it looks like one of his moves as CEO here is to have Fender Mexico go head to head with Fender Japan. And this is an awesome, awesome move indeed. As far as what we know outside of the mute, as well as the colors here, it doesn't look from this photo like we are going to be getting clay dots or age dots on this one. Again, if we are looking at an homage to 64 and early 65, by this time they would have already had pearloid dot inlay, so maybe that's what we're going to be getting here. If not, maybe they're going to save some coin and just go with standard white. But this Sherwood green just looks so attractive. And the shell pink, I mean, anytime I see a shell pink Jaguar, especially with a matching headstock, that is just, again, not on my bingo card for 2026. A couple of other things that folks have been talking about as far as the prices here. Early on in the thread, folks were talking about how, despite it only being 2.5 years since the release of the Vintera II, that Fender is going to try to use this new series as a way to justify higher prices across the board. And I would not be surprised by that kind of move. But some folks who were able to see some of the pricings on these secret listings or these non-live listings that they ended up finding on the internet, of which I haven't seen directly myself. I'm not sure. Some folks on Offset as well as the Gear page were saying to just Google Vintera III, but unfortunately I couldn't find anything myself. Maybe the pages had already been taken down. I was seeing some leaks related to Vintera III Strats and Tellies and Jazz basses. That stuff I don't have really any information of. This is an offset focus channel. But as far as the prices go, on this thread here, it is saying that one of the users that saw on one of these websites that the Mustangs are going to be going for $1,250, which is not really that much of a change, or no change at all from the Vintera II model. That the Jazzmasters are going to be $1,350. Again, very, very similar to the pricing of the Vintera II. Same with the Jaguars, which actually, if they are going to be coming out at $1,350 with the mute, with the matching headstock, then that's actually going to be less than the 70s style Vintera II. And then the Bass 6 is $1,500, which I believe is the same price that the Vintera II Bass 6s were. And then there's some details here that the 60s Jazz Bass is going to be $1,350 and the 70s Jazz Bass is going to be $1,500, most likely because of the binding and block inlays on the 70s. The other thing that some folks were bringing up later in this thread was wondering if perhaps if they were trying to justify higher costs, could there be a possibility that all of these models are going to be finished in Nitro? And that is a really, really good question. If they were pricing them the same as the road-worn, the road-worn limited edition Jazzmaster, I could see these things flying off of the frigging shelf as far as folks who have been waiting for that kind of option. A number of folks in this thread were saying Fender would never do that, even if they priced them as high as $2,000, because at that point they would be cannibalizing their own sales and kind of dissuading people from going for the higher priced American vintage line. But if they were selling them for that same $16.99 or $17.99, I know I, for one, would definitely be saving up my money probably for a Jag, despite the fact that I need a new guitar, like I need a friggin' hole in the head. But again, I'm a sucker for Sherwood green and shell pink. I miss the MIJ models that I had that were in both colors, and if the quality control on these ones, and if they come with improved pickups or any of the other things that folks have gripes about, such as, for example, the stupid smaller thimbles that make it very, very difficult to install aftermarket bridges, if they just replace them with, you know, the same thimbles that come on AVRIs, these are all things that are a move in the positive direction. And it definitely seems that on some level, Fender and their new CEO, or the new people in top seating over there who are making these decisions, are actually listening to what folks want. Again, they are supposedly slated to come out as soon as April. And as we said before, if you try to look for Vintera II models outside of the road-worn Jazzmaster, there are none to be found. So seriously, I really wouldn't be surprised if an April or soon after that, this Vintera III series was released. Anyway, I think that's going to do it for this video. I'd love to know what you all think about these leaks and this Vintera III series overall, if this is actually what they're going to be coming out with. Are you going to be in line? Are you going to be saving up, potentially selling your Vintera IIs or Vintera Is or other guitars to justify the purchase of one of these? What is the model that you are most looking forward to? And do you have any additional things that you'd like to add to the wish list of maybe features or changes that you hope may show up on the spec sheets for these new models? Let me know down in the comments. I would love to hear your thoughts. As always, if you haven't already, please hit that like and subscribe button, as well as the notification bell for new videos as soon as they drop. And don't forget to follow Totally Wired Guitars for more offset guitars buying tips. Now, before we go, there was another interesting detail that I saw in particular related to these new Vintera III Jaguars, and Alex Pigment, who is a member over at Offset Guitars, was saying that the headstocks of these Vintera III Jaguars, the ones that have been leaked here, look to have an MIJ carved to them. And now these are the kinds of details that only those who are the most offset obsessed would catch. I feel like I kind of know what he's talking about, so I've pulled up some images here. So we've got the Target Burst, or the Clown Burst Jaguar here. And when we compare it to, and pay close attention to the contour of the headstock here, and again, these weren't shot exactly the same, but if we take a look at this, and then we take a look at the, this is the MIJ traditional 60s Jaguar, you can see a very similar kind of cut to this outer edge here. I think that this swoop part looks to be almost the same between the two, but then if you compare to the American original 60s Jaguar, you can see that the end here is a bit more rounded, and this is very similar to what was also on the AV65, and so I'm pretty sure that is what they're talking about. Compare this now to the Vintera 60s Jaguar, right? And if we put the Vintera 60s Jaguar side by side with the American original, you can see that it's got that kind of rounder end here. But then you go then to the Vintera III leak, and you can see that carve is a bit sharper. Someone went on to kind of explain that on the Offset Guitars website. It was saying MIJ Jaguars tend to have a sharper point under the F in the F logo. There's also no difference in how MIJ and MIM do the swoop that goes from the point to the ball of the headstock. It just looks differently carved than previous. So it says MIJ Jaguars tend to have a sharper point under the F in the F logo. Let's see if we can see it. So maybe they're talking more about this here. A sharper point. I do not know if I see that. Oh, I do kind of. It's more pronounced here as compared to here. And let's see if we compare it side by side. Oh, yeah. It's got kind of more of a rounder carve here as compared to this one on the American original 60s. And then if we compare the MIJ to the Vintera III leak, these have that same very rounded. I have no idea, folks. It's offset guitar shit, offset guitar nerddom. I can't tell. My eyes are starting to play tricks on me. So yeah, that is something to take with a grain of salt.